Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. You know, it's been 2 full weeks since last episode, and I feel like nothing has changed. I'm still obsessively playing Elden Ring, and I had to stop for the sake
Still
of...
playing as a lord.
It turns out time is a flat circle.
Command V, kneel.
Nothing changes.
But
the world remains stagnant at the base of the Erd Tree.
We have no time to go... We talked about Elden Ring last time. No time for that. Because,
Elden Ring.
We are... It's time already for new anime.
Yeah.
Got our...
Oh, boy.
Oh, baby.
Spring 2022 season
Never
preview
ends.
coming up. We've got... This is one season away from our 10th anniversary, but that's... We'll get to that when the time comes.
But Jill, I thought we were still in 2021. We just watched 86 yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's still like April 2020, right? Nothing has happened since then.
Look, man, I made that joke last time. 2022. Say that number slower. 2022.
The sequel.
Yes, this is where we live.
2020 Lightning Returns.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back to our podcast from like March 2020 and be like, when we're like, oh yeah, maybe this will be like a month or two or something.
Man,
but
it's bad.
I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. Let's get into our season preview. To introduce everybody, I'm Jel. I am joined by Iro.
I'm still here. I'm not dead yet.
Still with us. I'm also joined by G.
What's good, everybody?
And we're gonna 3-man this one as circumstances have worked out, but I think we'll do our best to cover all these new shows. It's gonna be interesting. I'm just gonna be real with everybody. There's a chance that I will like this season and the rest of you all will hate it.
I mean, the way I'm looking at this season, to kind of give our immediate, I'm just here to listen to these guys talk about anime and nothing else, so I just listen to the first 10 minutes and then leave. The basic overview of this season, I would say, is there are a few shows here that I think are going to be very reliable hits, and then there's everything else.
Yeah.
And the everything else is a lot less knowable, shall we say.
Yeah. From my perspective, as regular listeners may know, I very much like dumb anime comedies and slice of life shows, and there are a lot of those this season. The problem is making a good comedy and slice of life is hard.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And we do have one of our personal favorites coming back with Kaguya-sama Love is War, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But beyond that, and maybe one or two others, the rest are kind of wild cards. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, let's get into what's going to be what we're going to be watching. So, a couple notable returning shows to start with. We have the second season of Komi Can't Communicate. They took a season off, and that's coming back. Again, we're starting off with these dumb school romantic comedies. There's gonna be a lot of them, and this is like the most basic, quite frankly, boring version. I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I don't even remember if I watched the last episode of season 1.
Whoops.
It's that it was just getting that dull. I mean, it's very nice, nicely executed. Like the animation's fantastic and everything. Go check out that OP. But yeah, I don't know. And it's also in Netflix hell, so you got to deal with all that. But I have not
a continuing a pervasive theme throughout the season.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I haven't seen if they're planning on actually simulcasting this one again, as they kind of did with the first season, but we'll see. Next on the list, we have, as mentioned, Kaguya-sama Love is War.
Hell yeah, Return of the King.
This is
back, huh?
I think it's extremely rare for a comedy to get a season 3. first of all.
Right.
The anime comedy that could not stop hitting. It just
Yeah.
doesn't miss. Just
I seem to
incapable.
recall you folks saying like season 2 was possibly better than season 1.
Yes.
I think so in a
You
lot
could
of
make
ways,
that-
yeah, because
You can make that argument.
the thing that we've always said about Kaguya-sama, which for those who are not tuned in, is the anime romantic comedy about a basically two overachieving high school students, at a very prestigious academy, trying to find increasingly convoluted ways to get the other to confess their feelings.
Right.
That's kind of the most basic premise.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that makes Kaguya-sama so fun, like 2 seasons later and potentially into the 3rd, is it is the rare anime comedy with an evolving status quo. The characters change, the relationship dynamics change, and as a result, the jokes change. Like, that basic premise I just told is a really good premise for comedy for about, 1 full season of television.
Right.
And so they find new ways to introduce, interesting foils to the comedy dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as I said before, comedy is hard. Part of it is the how do you keep the jokes from getting stale, which, as mentioned, that they keep, and it's not like it's a fast-paced change of the status quo, but they do just enough to kind of keep it moving and not getting stale. And you gotta just have good jokes and things too, which it does great. I always talk about my love for lovable dirtbag comedies, and
And I mean, that's the thing that makes Kaguya-sama work so well, right? Is like, because it is a pretty strong achievement on multiple levels, right? Like, it's also technically really well made. It has really good timing. Like, the character acting or animating is really personable. Like, they do a lot of stuff, right? It's like, I feel like the thing with Kaguya-sama is, like, I'm not even sure if it's, like, actually the funniest show, anime I've ever watched. I maybe not, but, like, in terms of, like, just being the all-rounder,
right?
I think it kind of wins that award in my opinion.
Yeah, there's no, like, particularly weak points that you would point to or anything with it. It just kind of does everything really well. So, and yeah, like, it's just crazy. It's a 3rd season of a comedy, and we're still actually looking forward to it,
right? I mean, God, the only other anime comedy I can think of that has 3 seasons is fucking Osumatsu-san, and well, we've all sort of made it clear how we feel about that at this point.
We were pretty burnt out on Osumatsu by season 3, so I'm looking forward to this one. Hopefully they don't ruin it.
We're gonna continue the adventures of Yu Ishigami becoming the new protagonist of Kaguya-sama.
Yeah, as he slowly takes over, who knows?
Becomes the accidental harem protagonist of this anime.
I have heard some things about the manga that I'm not going to speculate on because I just don't know.
Yes, I've certainly heard
as you probably have as well,
pieces. Yes.
G. So I do think they will continue to evolve the status quo, which is good.
Yes.
All right. Let's. I mostly put this on here to tease you guys.
Another highly anticipated
another show that took a season off and came back is Kyoukai Senki, or what's the real title, Iroh?
A MAME warrior on the borderline.
Not real title, but localized title, yes.
Yes.
The generic ass mecha show that you guys did you even finish it?
We did.
Okay.
The first season ends with a dramatic supposed sacrifice by the protagonist.
Yeah, the protagonist seemingly sacrifices his life to stop the baddies.
To stop the evil AI mech ghost.
It's hilarious because, like, I think literally no mecha anime in the entire, like, you know what? Look, I'm not gonna say I've watched every mecha anime. Feel free to correct me, but like, I have never watched a mecha anime in my entire life in which the protagonists sacrifice themselves and actually stay dead.
Right.
Never in a million
the
years.
main protagonist, yeah.
Yes. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They die for... It's like Jesus. They die for about 3 episodes.
Right. And come back, yeah. So
I mean, that is
Yamato,
literally,
anime
like,
Jesus.
I mean, that is literally the origin of the joke about Gundam Seed, about Kira Yamato, or Kira Jesus Yamato, the protagonist of Gundam Seed, because he also seemingly dies, and then literally, like, basically resurrects like the goddamn Messiah in the sequels.
Crawls out of a cave.
Yeah. But, I don't know. You know, it's like, what is there to say about this show? It's boring. It's predictable. It's like weirdly xenophobic and nationalist in ways that are like just uncomfortable enough to like not really give this show the benefit of the doubt. It's not even like even its train wreck aspects are not even that entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a Code Geass. This is not a let's watch how this thing entirely collapses in on itself in its season 2. Like, it's just boring. You know, it's just not interesting. Yep. And like the only thing that I can ever like consistently say about the show that's like kind of okay is like, well, the robots are kind of cool.
Yeah, the robots are kind of cool. Yeah.
But like that's it. Like this show has no substance. Like
no substance and barely any style.
You know, look forward to our coverage of season 2 next month.
I was gonna say the big question is,
we're still
are you guys
gonna
keep watching it?
I don't know, man. I feel like we cursed ourselves ever since we finished Gundam Build Divers to completion. Is like that sets a really
bad precedent.
Unfortunate precedent of, well,
you gotta set yourself free, man. Set yourself free.
If you watched Gundam Build Divers season 1 to completion, what won't you finish? And if you don't finish a show, are you implying it's worse than Gundam Build Divers season 1?
Look, Gundam Build Divers at least allowed us to have the somewhat respectable weirdness of Build Divers Re-Rise.
Yes, but my point is that we still finished. Like,
we didn't know that when we watched Build Divers.
Yeah, we didn't know that at the time.
You gotta set yourself free.
No, because like if I watch a mecha anime and I don't finish it, am I implying to the world it's worse than Gundam Build Divers?
I mean,
Gundam
based
Build
on what you
Divers
guys have told
really
me, is
bad.
that okay? Well, I'll look forward to periodically checking in on that while you guys.
If we watch The Price of Smiles, we can.
Okay, no, that's different. The Price of
even
Smiles,
that had like the train wreck factor,
yes,
right?
Okay,
there was the tactical big ass ramp.
Right. This seems to have very few redeeming qualities. But...
I don't know. Yeah, there's. I mean, in all seriousness, like, you know, to people who are like actually like, you know, listening to us for recommendations or whatever, I would say no. Don't watch this anime. Like, unless you're sick like us. And you already watched season 1. Like, don't bother with Kyoukai.
Just go watch Subungle instead.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll go as far as say, fuck it, go watch 86. Like, I'm not even joking.
Yeah, sure.
Like, as much as I have problems with that show, if you need to watch a mecha anime that like vaguely tickles in the direction of geopolitics, go watch 86.
Yeah, we haven't talked about 86 in a while. We'll have to get to that on the next episode.
It's fucked up, but that'll probably be in our season wrap-up podcast because it'll be close to done by the time we get...
Yeah.
Oh, my
We'll
goodness.
save that for next time, but yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to this season's resurrecting a show that was the hottest thing going 10 to 15 years ago, or however long ago it was.
This is really interesting to me.
Somehow in the year 2022, we are getting a sequel to Tiger and Bunny.
Yeah, I guess Double Decker did really well.
Like 2012's Tiger and Bunny.
It's been 10
which
years.
was, you know, for the kids out there that don't know, Tiger and Bunny was like one of the biggest, hottest things going.
Yeah, like I feel like this is not just like old man is like, oh man, we're talking about this show was a big deal. Like, no, like Tiger and Bunny,
I know,
like, once upon a time,
right?
consistently topped popularity polls, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about other shows that like exist in that like decade long like era of like cultural memory. Think of your Code Geasses, you know, your Macross Frontiers, you know the type of shows that like people, you know, your Fates, the type of shows people would be talking about 10 years later.
Right.
Tiger and Bunny used to be like was mogging those other shows like it was fucking nothing. Like this show was gigantic. Kotetsu T Kaburagi and Barnaby Brooks Jr. were like two of the most popular characters and probably the most popular male pairing in like you know in like just
this might have been like part of
discourse.
the you know and I'm happy that we have seen this over the past 10 years, the shift to balancing the demographic of anime fandom to, you know, pretty much be split male and female now at this point. I feel like Tiger and Bunny was a big part of that like shift that we saw over the past 10 years.
Like Tiger and Bunny was the show that, like, for better or worse, made a lot of people, at least in the West, you know, I think otaku culture was probably aware because, you know, it's domestic to them, but for the Western fan base, really become aware of just how large and important the, you know, the Fujoshi, like, fan base of an anime could be, right? Like, it was, like, they were, like, single-handedly responsible for, like, inflating Tiger and Bunny's popularity beyond, like, Sunrise's wildest dreams. Like, Tiger and Bunny was originally, like, just Sunrise's, like, experimental test bed for CG tech. It was just meant to train people up in CG. It was never meant to be, like, that's why it originally only got, like, a 13 episode core until it was so popular that they ordered, you know, a subsequent 13 episodes to do a full rounded out season. And a movie, you know.
There was a movie. I never saw that, but yeah.
I've also not seen the movie. With Tiger and Bunny 2 coming out, I will probably need to get around to checking out that movie because my understanding is that it's not a recap. It's like
there's actual plot.
There's actual plot there. But yeah, so, you know, now that we've explained why it's important, Tiger and Bunny was a TV anime released back, around 2012-ish. That was, it was Sunrise's kind of one of their first big forays into, you know, animating in CG. And it takes place in a, like, very, like, anime America metropolitan, like, you know, your Gotham, your Metropolis kind of style DC, a fake America city in which superheroes are sponsored, and in this world, superheroes are a corporatized entity, and they are part of a hugely popular reality television series in which they are filmed, you know, fighting criminals, and their rankings are affected by fan vote and popularity, you know, and
I remember
that sounds really dystopian. No, go ahead, Jill.
I remember when it was airing, they did like they had an actual like Blue Rose Pepsi commercial that they did, right?
So that's the thing.
It was real brands,
In addition to these shows, in addition to these heroes being sponsored in universe, in the real world, real corporations sponsored these heroes.
That
you know?
SoftBank logo on your suit.
SoftBank, Good Smile, Pepsi, like any like major Japanese corporation you could think of, like got their finger in that pie in a really like kind of strange and again maybe like kind of dystopian way. And I think the thing that Tiger and Bunny that made it work really well. Iro, you've never watched Tiger and Bunny to completion. Maybe that should be our next backlog project. But you have watched their spiritual successor, Double Decker.
Yes.
And I think in Double Decker, it will communicate some of the like sensibilities that make Tiger and Bunny such a likable show. It is this gonzo fake anime America setting. Again, the main character is named Kotetsu T Kaburagi. He's a single dad, you know, he's a single dad and a has-been superhero. He was like your uncle's superhero, and he's still trying to keep up with the kids. You know, he's a really likable, relatable character. I would go as far as say that for a certain time period, Kotetsu T Kaburagi was my favorite protagonist in anime. Like, he's just a really like he was kind of the beginning of the like dad protagonists. Like, he was just a chill, a little neurotic. He doesn't have it all together, but like emotionally mature, like put together dude who like had seen the shit, and so like he could handle like when dealing with these like more hotshot kids, he could deal with them with like both maturity and exasperation in equal measure in a way that was really likable. And just like it's a really fun cast of characters. The CG action was actually surprisingly well done because like all the heroes kind of wore power armor, which was the way that Sunrise could get away with doing CG animation. And
Right.
It actually worked pretty decently. And like even the story itself, like it's very pulpy. It's very much a superhero story, and a superhero story with a tinge of police procedural because the plot of season 1 is about how Kotetsu T Kaburagi is constantly like at the bottom of the rankings in terms of popularity.
Right.
Nobody likes him. The kids don't care about him. His only like demographic is like 40-year-old men or something. and so they decide to pair him up with Barnaby Brooks Jr., this kind of up and comer hotshot superhero who is a billionaire with dead parents.
Of course.
And they're like, this is the guy that's gonna like put a shot in your arm in your career, right? Like he's new, but we know he's gonna be a big deal, and we pair him up with you. By sheer inertia, you'll get dragged up the rankings. But Barnaby Brooks is kind of he's an aloofish, standoffish kind of dick. He's kind of a loner. He doesn't like talking with other people. He doesn't get along with his coworkers. And you can kind of see where this is going, right? Like the dynamic that gets formed between these two characters as they fight crime together. As they
it's almost like a buddy cop thing with like the old grizzled veteran guy and the young hotshot. Having to team up to fight crime,
And it's like that thing of like Barnaby Brooks' power is literally Kotetsu's but better. Like his superpowers, their superpowers are identical. Just one is better than the other, right? So of course, like Kotetsu he's put in even more of an underdog situation. But then it's fun seeing like how he like powers through that because like there's bits of like how Barnaby's like I'm about to hit the time limit on my power. I better back off and retreat. Whereas Kotetsu's like, I got 15 seconds left of super strength. I think I can make it. I think I can stop that train.
Right.
I think I can stop that train in 15 seconds. He doesn't know, but he's going to try because that's what
the heart of a hero.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And it was just a really likable show. It did actually have some surprisingly interesting things to say about the corporatization of the heroes. Like the main villain of the second season is a vigilante hero who is basically a mix of the Punisher and Batman. He kills his villains. He's like the turn is now he's starting to target heroes because he thinks that now they too are like morally compromised.
Right.
And it's a really like it's a really solid, fun story about a bunch of likable characters and
because there's a lot of other heroes that we kind of regularly spend time with, and they kind of have. Like, obviously, Kotetsu and Barnaby are, like, the main characters, but, like, there's the ensemble cast of other heroes that they work with and everything, so,
right, like, Keith Goodman and Antonio Lopez. I think they're Iron Bull and Sky High. Oh, man, Sky High. What a...
And, I already mentioned Blue Rose, the high school girl that has a crush on Kotetsu, of course, and...
Yes.
But the funniest part in the entire series was in the last episode. I remember her reading a magazine that was like, how to catch a single dad who's like 10 years, 20 years older than you or something like that.
Very funny.
It's like very specific.
This magazine.
Magazine.
So I'm really looking forward to season 2, even though it's been a really long time. I think people were surprised, or not both surprised and not surprised, I think, in the sense that people were surprised that it took this long, I guess, because of how popular the show was.
Right.
It's weird that it took them this long to finally do a follow-up season.
Yeah,
but
I have to wonder if like, did like My Hero Academia steal Tiger and Bunny's thunder at some point and everyone stopped caring? Because I feel like I haven't heard anybody talk about Tiger and Bunny in at least 5 years.
I suspect that is partially the case because anybody who just listened to me describe some of the plot elements of Tiger and Bunny is probably thinking, "Oh, you mean like that dude in My Hero Academia?"
Yeah, they have. I mean, they're different premises because My Hero Academia is high school, but like it's the same sort of Western comics inspired type of
I think that for people who are like listening to this and thinking, oh, so I mean, isn't it just like My Hero Academia? I think Tiger and Bunny is still worth watching, especially if you're like us, where you kind of, it's not that you hate media about high schoolers, but you would kind of wish there was more media about adults.
Yeah.
And I think Tiger and Bunny is going to be and maybe in some ways it's your dad's My Hero Academia, but maybe you're at that age and maybe that's what you'd prefer, right? Like instead of like you know what you get in My Hero Academia, don't you want to watch like your like what if Deku what if Bakugo just fucking chilled out after college to the point where Deku and Bakugo could just get a drink at a bar after work and like talk about like, you know, what their daughter has been up to in high school instead of just like shouting at each other constantly. Like if that sounds appealing to you, then I think Tiger and Bunny is something you should check out.
So I do want to get to the business of season 2.
Yes.
So from my memories of Tiger and Bunny, which, you know, I got to really scrape my old man brain here to think 10 years ago.
It's been a long time.
But I do recall I very much liked the first major story arc, like the first half, and maybe not so much the second half.
I would agree.
Where they started, if I recall, getting a little more dramatic.
The second half has a fucking brainwashing subplot.
There's
so,
a brain, right. There was some like really dumb, lazy, felt like plot devices going on in the second half that I didn't particularly care for. And I'm kind of curious, I mean, are they just going to keep going down the route of... Because if I do recall, at the very end, Kotetsu's power was like down to like 1 minute or something. Like his power was like he could be super strong for 5 minutes at the beginning, and then by the end he could only do it for like 1 minute or something, right?
I'm not sure if they ever actually addressed that. Like that's the thing. I didn't watch the movie. Maybe the movie.
Yeah, so I guess not watched the movie, I don't know exactly where we left off, but you know, I haven't read anything about season 2 yet either.
Same.
I mean, would it be cool if it was like, you know, with my last bit of power, I'm going to train up the next guy or something, or I don't know. But the
synopsis of Tiger and Bunny 2 is that it's about Tiger and Bunny having to deal with a new crop of like international superheroes.
Okay.
So now,
man, are we going to get some horrible racial stereotypes?
So now it's the fun thing of like now Barnaby is the vet. And now Kotetsu is the elder statesman, I guess.
Right.
But
they're gonna bring in like
we'll see. I actually don't know. You know, it would disappoint me, but it would not surprise me if the movie's plot is about Kotetsu getting his powers back somehow. Because like,
you can't.
I feel like unfortunately the original Tiger and Bunny's ending was written with the idea that there would be no more Tiger and Bunny, so that is why it's about Kotetsu losing his powers. Yeah. But if you make a season 2 and a movie. You know,
we got to stretch this out a little bit longer. Yeah.
Right. You know, it's like All Might. You know, they're gonna bring him back. You know, just for a little bit, no matter what.
Just a little.
Yeah. Well, I think either way, I'm glad that it exists. And
yeah, for sure.
It just remains to be seen of whether it will actually be good or not.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of the staff working on it. I don't know if it's all the same people. Like I just know that it exists, and I know that it's stuck on Netflix, so...
Yes, and it is in Netflix hell, so everyone be aware of that. But
I
can't imagine anyone but Sunrise doing it. It feels very much like should be Sunrise, but as far as the staff itself, I guess, we'll see.
Is it not Sunrise anymore?
I mean, it is Sunrise, but...
Okay.
But what I mean more is like
a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have changed in 10 years. Who knows where everybody's at, right? Yeah,
like, it's hard to say where any of the people who originally worked on that show are 10 years later. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep moving along and start talking about some new shows.
The new stuff.
Oh boy.
So, you know, I think a recurring problem we might have, as I mentioned. A lot of these shows are comedies and or slice of life type shows, and those don't really translate well to audio discussion.
Right.
So if I were to tell you and explain to you, so the first show I have listed here is Aharen-san Is Indecipherable. If I were to explain to you,
explain it if it's indecipherable.
Well, if I were to explain to you what the show is about, it's not going to sound very good.
Good. Well,
interesting.
Tell me more.
Well, I mean, it's just like this guy and this girl become friends and they have wacky school adventures. Like, there's not
have,
like
weird, quirky personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from what I can tell, they appear to be like quiet weirdos in some way, and I guess the hook is like she doesn't understand personal space or something. But it's not like, at least from what I can tell, pervy or anything. Just like
okay, because I was like, wait, what? Is she like fucking
yeah,
grabbing dudes' dicks or something?
No, at least from what I can tell from the trailer, it doesn't seem like they're quite going in that direction. But other than making them, well, actually, the main guy doesn't even look that uncomfortable. He also seems like a weirdo himself, from what I can tell.
Okay.
And I get the impression that everyone else around them is shipping the two together. So
I see.
Watch the trailer to get the mood for it.
I'm watching
it looks
the trailer
fun.
right now. Yeah,
it looks fun to me. I don't know if it'll be good or not. It's all gonna with all of these. It's gonna come down to the the writing and the jokes. But
look, I see a PV like this, and I see these characters doing their thing, and I see the side cast being introduced, and it's like, all right, this is a very okay. I see what this is, and I think very much it is a case of like, if you don't trade in this this region, like this shit is never ever gonna do anything for you. This very much feels like, oh, you're gonna have to watch like the first 2-3 episodes to figure out like, is this the right type of anime trash or not?
Right. Yep. And this is like my prime example of what I was talking about at the beginning, where this may be a season where I like the shows and you all don't.
Yeah.
But I wanted to throw that on the air because I thought that did look fun. All right, let's talk about another old thing from 2010 coming back.
Yeah, technically, should this have been put in the notable returning shows section?
Well, that's a good question. So let's talk about Black Rock Shooter Dawnfall. And I feel like the only way I can get around
like the post-game DLC.
I was like, is this the new Destiny expansion?
Yeah, right. That does sound like a Destiny expansion name, right? Dawnfall. But I feel like the only way I can explain, I might have to do a little bit of a deep dive to explain my feelings on this.
Oh, that's great. No, I'm always here for
All right, tell us about Black Rock Shooter. Isn't Black Rock Shooter just Miku? It's a Vocaloid, right?
No.
Vocaloid
Black
thing?
Rock Shooter is not Hatsune Miku. So for the kids out there who might not know, Black Rock Shooter was extremely popular for a hot minute in like 2010.
Yes, like Tiger and Bunny.
Before Black Rock Shooter is started as a OC of an artist named Kyoukai, who made an illustration of Black Rock Shooter. And this illustration was seen by a musician named Ryo, who went on to form the
Supercell, right?
really, I don't know if I want to call it a super group because it's basically him doing the music and a bunch of artists doing art, but Supercell is the group, who was also very popular in that time era.
Yes.
And he wrote a song about Black Rock Shooter using Hatsune Miku, using Vocaloid software. And that was part of the explosion of Vocaloid way back in like 2007, 8-ish. And so, as Ira pointed out, since Black Rock Shooter got famous because of the song, the Vocaloid song, and also she kind of looks like vaguely like a dark version of Hatsune Miku. Black Rock Shooter kind of rode that wave of popularity, as Kyoukai also became part of Supercell with other artists like Red Juice, Shiromu, and all that. Anyway, I don't want to go too far off on the tangent here, but
enough that it started getting anime adaptations.
So at this point, it wasn't even an anime; it was just a character that somebody drew on the internet. And since then, there have been technically 2 anime adaptations, and a PSP game that I feel like I am probably the only person on the planet that played that game to completion. But so they made, so here's where it's gonna get tied into this current era anime, kind of. I'm almost there. So the first thing they made was a 3-episode OVA that Good Smile Company produced and gave out for free. And this was kind of just like it was like high school girls, friends, and using the images of Black Rock Shooter and the other characters as like, I guess, allegory for their emotional turmoil or whatever. This is also, interestingly enough, the first notable role for Kana Hanazawa. I'm gonna throw that out there.
Oh yeah, shit. Was it really?
This is how she got famous as the voice of the character that is Black Rock Shooter. It's complicated.
I'm just so used to her being part of the furniture of like anime VAs. It's
yes, but that was like her first like kind of notable role. But anyway, again, I'm getting sidetracked here. But
anyways, yeah, tell us the story of the Black Rock Shooter.
Yeah, so the OVA was and this is the important part. The OVA was about like high school girls and Black Rock Shooter being like the allegory for their emotional turmoil and all that.
Okay, yeah.
A couple years later, they made a full-length anime series, which kind of
I remember hearing about that.
It was the same characters, but it was like they kind of reimagined it, and expanded that out into like a full 12-episode series, which was pretty good. I would say that it was. I know Zig really loved it. I thought it was kind of mid, if we're being honest, but it did look really cool.
Yeah, I feel like for better or worse, at least to me, as like here's the thing, right? Like every time I hear about Black Rock Shooter, I think like there's an alternate universe where I would have also have gotten really into Black Rock Shooter. Like it seems like the sort of thing that's like, oh, G would have loved the shit out of this if he had just like made that left at Albuquerque and arrived at Black Rock Shooter Lane.
Oh, because, wait till I get to the next part, G, because that's where it may actually get more interesting to you.
So the thing I'll say, right, is like I feel like at least these days in 2022, Black Rock Shooter's long-standing legacy is probably just like, you know, its inclusion in like Sakuga compilations. You know?
Yes, yeah, it's very stylish, which I think is by far the strongest point of any of this. And I would like to point out, and it's a very strange thing that I don't even really like Black Rock Shooter that much. It's just for some reason I've been fascinated by like how it happened.
Sometimes a show just like embeds itself in your brain in a way.
Yeah, like how we went from. It's very interesting to me how we went from some guy put a OC on Pixiv and became this.
Because I mean.
So yeah, coming back to the.
Yeah.
I do have a point that I'm getting to.
All right.
I promise. This is not just me rambling. I have a point I'm getting to. So the first two anime things were about the high school girls, right?
Sure.
So then, probably somewhere, I don't remember what year, but probably sometime a year or two after the full-length anime, they put out the PSP game.
Okay, yeah.
The PSP game had absolutely nothing to do with anything that has ever been associated with Black Rock Shooter other than Black Rock Shooter was the main character.
Okay.
Instead of the high school girl emotional allegory thing, Black Rock Shooter is this super powerful warrior in this like hard sci-fi military post-apocalyptic world setting.
Okay, sure.
Right. I don't really remember much of the plot so much as like it was. You can imagine Black Rock Shooter riding a giant motorcycle and fighting along like actual like human soldier dudes with guns.
Sure, that just sounds like some cool dumb anime shit.
Yeah. And I don't even remember if any of like the other notable characters that she fights, like Dead Master, like the girl with the scythe and all that. Like I don't even remember if they show up in the PSP game. To be honest, it was a lot more like hard sci-fi military type of.
Sure. Okay.
Which, at the time I was like, I have no idea. They just totally threw out any of the previous existing plot lines or anything characters that they had worked with, which was weird.
I mean, I guess the thing about this that's interesting and weird about that though is like, I mean, what is the Black Rock Shooter canon, right? I mean, if this whole thing originated from just an OC, right, from an illustration of a character, like
yeah, is it just like anybody takes the story and does what they want with it, right?
Like, I mean, I'm sure the original artist Kyoukai has some ideas about like the canon, quote unquote, but like. When you're talking about a character that becomes popular solely because of their design and their aesthetics and not because of like any like story attached to them, then it's kind of easy for them to become just a cipher for like whatever the writer wants.
Right. And that brings us to the new anime.
Yeah, so do tell us, what's Dawnfall's relation to all of this?
So I was shocked to find when I finally sat down and watched the trailer of Dawnfall that it appears that they might be going for the PSP game storyline.
Oh man, the game canon.
which was totally shocking to me because I was very much expecting everyone to just forget the PSP game existed and that they would go back to the.
Looking forward to the Zelda timeline style charts for Black Rock Shooter.
Right, I was totally expecting them to come back with the schoolgirls and because that's usually what I think of Black Rock Shooter as, because that, you know, other than the weird PSP game, that's what it's always been. And yeah, if you watch the trailer, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of CG in the trailer. It doesn't look great.
So that part is also not that surprising, right? Because hasn't Black Rock Shooter always been a like kind of CG primary series kind of?
No, not really. I think for the TV anime series there was a bit of it for like the fights and stuff, but as far as like everybody, you know, walking around and talking and whatnot, you know, it was mostly hand drawn.
Because I feel like I remember seeing like, because I feel like I see a lot of like, whenever I see like shots of like, again, I don't know, because I don't know the first goddamn thing about this series, right? I don't know if this is from the OVA or the TV series, or God, maybe they're just cutscenes from the game. But like, I feel like, when I think of like Black Rock Shooter, I often think of like, it's like what is often said is like it's surprisingly decent usage of CG for animation. So I guess.
Yeah, I would say
necessarily surprised because I feel like a lot of the monster designs I feel like were always in CG, right? Like,
yeah, because I think some of those to animate you would have to.
Right,
they're
like,
very.
I always remember seeing a clip of like a big like, I don't know, robot crab thing or whatever. You know?
Yeah, the designs are very like elaborate and detailed and like vaguely like gothic mechanical type of
yeah. But
style
guess,
to them.
But I guess yes, if it wasn't always known for that, then I could definitely see how going to Dawnfall.
It's not. I don't think it was like the first thing I would think of. Whereas this looks like it's like mostly CG.
Oh yeah, you know what? Actually, I am now currently like as we are carrying this conversation, I am playing like simultaneously a clip of like what appears to be Black Rock Shooter TV all fights alongside this Dawnfall PV at the same time.
It's a different
it's definitely
mood.
A different vibe. Like the original TV series is almost like call me the boss baby guy, because apparently I have no frames of reference except one. But like I'm looking at some of this Black Rock Shooter stuff and I'm like, oh, I get a lot of Trigger vibes from this, you know?
Right.
Whereas like this new Dawnfall stuff is, yeah, this is more conventional anime CG in a way that's definitely less visually appealing.
Yeah. So that's a little disappointing. And quite frankly, I'm not sure.
This is almost like this Dawnfall trailer is almost like, man, what if the Girls Frontline anime looked slightly better?
Slightly better, yeah. No, but it is
unfair. That's unfair to Black Rock Shooter. This looks leagues better than the Girls Frontline anime.
But I mean, if you want the mood that the PSP game and now this new anime is going for, it is kind of the Girls Frontline, cute girls with guns.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
hard military.
I'm seeing a tank fight a robot spider in this trailer.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm fascinated that that's the route that they decided to go.
I guess. I mean, again, I guess it's that thing of like, what it, you know. This makes it sound too fucking like hoity-toity, but what is Black Rock Shooter? You
right.
know? like
the real Black Rock Shooter is the one that exists in your heart.
Exactly, and it's like it's like I'm like not getting my head. It's like, well, was Black Rock Shooter the progenitor to like the VTuber? like
you
follow
know?
Me on this, right? Like,
can we draw a line? I mean, if we're gonna, I mean, is Vocaloid the progenitor of the VTuber?
Right. I guess that's what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, does it all go? I mean, I guess does it all go back to Miku? Is that what it actually is?
Yes.
It all all roads return to Miku.
She birthed all of this, right?
Miku is the alpha and the omega.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm not even a huge Black Rock Shooter fan. I'm just continue to be fascinated
really
by
fascinating, right? Because like this franchise,
the process here
to persist against all odds. Like,
yeah, and I mean, I'm curious to see what they do with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not? And you know why they decided to go this route, who knows? it's gonna be interesting. So
Yeah, something like that.
all right, well,
shall we move on to the next one on this list?
Yeah.
Just to switch gears.
Let's talk about ya boy Kongming.
Your boy Kongming. He's got a thing to say.
So, I don't even know where to start with this. I guess. Have you looked it up yourself, G?
So, I have looked up bits and pieces. I am not familiar with the source material. I've just watched the PVs. That's as far as my knowledge goes. But I feel like this is the anime that everybody, at least in this podcast, like, in this current podcast, praise is good.
Yes.
Like if one anime this season that's a completely unproven like entity had to be actually as good as we hope, this is the one I hope for, because the premise is too dumb for me to not desperately want to enjoy this.
So the idea is that we've got Kongming, or as you may know, also know him as Shuge Liang from Romance of the Three Kingdoms, or Dynasty Warriors, or History. The master tactician is reincarnated into modern times, specifically into Shibuya, Tokyo, into the hard partying nightlife, and he meets up this girl who is an aspiring singer. I don't think she's been billed as an idol, but an actual singer.
No, like an actual musician, I think.
Yeah, like a real singer, and he teams up with her to use his powers as a genius tactician.
Right, because it's the perfect duo, right? He's got the book smarts and the tactics, but he's not familiar with the ways of the world. This up-and-coming musician, she's got the street smarts, and so together they're gonna bring revolution to the music industry.
It's such a stupid premise, and I love it.
I love it. Like, if this
at some point
evolves into just fucking Juke Liang just fucking going around Shibuya giving advice to, helping people like make it through the modern problems of modern day living, in the town of Shibuya.
Or like trying to figure out how to like go viral on Instagram or something. Like I want to see what ridiculous strategies they come up with.
Yes.
I'll point out also, at some point in the trailer, some guy challenges somebody to a rap battle. I don't know what that's going to be about.
Love to see
I don't know if he's challenging the girl, or if he's challenging Kongming here, or what's happening. But if it ends up with him rapping at some point, even better.
Man, I need that. See, I need that so badly. This is why I really hope this show is actually I really hope this show's not a one-trick pony, I guess is what I'd say, right? Because this feels like the type of comedy that you could have a lot of fun with for exactly 12 to 13 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Just the premise of, because man out of time stories are fun, right? And usually we get the opposite, right? We get the isekai into history, right? We don't, not since the days of Bill and Ted have we gotten historical figures thrust into modern day, and so.
In a comedy setting,
I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say about this one. Honestly, it's a fun premise. I
would point out, so this is actually, I think, PA Works doing this.
Right, yes.
Which is, anytime PA Works goes outside of their very specific wheelhouse, it does concern me. And it's
I would agree.
Do we get, what's that one show you guys love, where the action show that they did?
Sirius the Jaeger.
Sometimes we get that, and then sometimes we get a Pare Ranman. So whenever,
I feel like PA. The only time PA Works is reliable is when they stay solely in their Shirobako lane.
Right, when they've got a group of young working women in a sleepy seaside town, and everything is covered in pastel colors, we know that's going to be solid. But anything else is
anything else. It's a
I
little
don't know.
Less,
it's a wild card.
For sure. But I'll say it like this, right? Regardless of how It's Your Boy Kongming turns out, It's Your Boy Kongming is the type of anime that comes that the premise, if nothing else, makes you appreciate that anime exists in the form it does. Because it feels like the type of thing that could only ever like be created in the media landscape of Japanese fiction.
Right. Yeah. I couldn't see this working anywhere else.
Yeah. So
it's
for
so
that
ridiculous.
Reason,
yeah.
I really hope like a month from now we're not just saying, "Damn, what a good premise," and nothing
just imagining
else.
him be like trying to figure out how to get her booked at a club or something. He's like, this
Oh,
reminds me
man.
of the battle at
Right,
Hulao
right.
Gate or something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He's just gonna start talking about fucking like Three Kingdoms.
Come
shit.
on, how can you? There's no way they can mess that up,
Like,
right?
Are we just gonna get like a flashback to like Lu Bu or something? You know, just like.
There's no
He's
way.
gonna, like, he's gonna like meet some dude in Shibuya, and he's just like, "Oh, you remind me of a certain boorish fellow I once met." You know. Like,
yeah. There's so much gold to mine there.
Oh, it's so much. You could do so much with it, but
Yeah.
it's hard to say if they will.
Yeah. All right. Well, looking forward to that one. Let's move on to how would I even say this? Deaimon?
Deaimon? I'm not
Does
sure.
that look about correct?
Yeah, why not?
It's Deaimon. Deaimon.
When I first heard this
Deaimon.
name, I was like, all right, which Digimon spin-off
Yes,
is
I
this?
also thought about Digimon, but no, this is I threw this on there because this looks like it's probably gonna be a dad anime.
Ah, of course, classic.
So there is this dude who left home to go become famous in a rock band and failed miserably at it.
Okay.
And now in his 30s and like 10 years later, he is asked to come home to help his grandparents, his like sick grandpa or something, run their confection shop.
Of course.
And during the time he was gone, they apparently like adopted this like 10-year-old girl or something that he also has to take care of.
Of course.
And dad anime ensues, I
Yeah,
guess.
dad anime. Yeah, right. No, you were summarizing this premise, and I'm watching this PV. It's like, yep, okay, yeah, I gotcha.
Yep.
Like this is, this sounds exactly like what it sounds like. I guess as always, the question will be, is this going to be more of a sweetness and lightning, or more of a bunny drop?
Yeah. So there have been many dad anime over the past several years,
and both the quality and the inherent morality of these shows have
all very
ping-ponged across the spectrum.
different scales for sure.
Yeah.
I mean from the trailer looks fine. It's probably gonna be fun, sweet dad anime stuff. It's always got that lingering question, particularly when this is explicitly a situation where it is not his real daughter.
Right, not blood related.
And if anybody hasn't picked up what we're putting down here, it's the situation where a lot of these stories end with sometime in the future, time skip, the day that she turns 18, she's actually in love with him and they get together, right? Like,
yeah, it's very much the what is it? Fuck. Isn't this like the big plot point of like the most famous Japanese like novel?
the Tale of Genji,
Genji, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the old Tale of Genji.
Yes, it's tale as old as recorded fictional history here.
Yeah, exactly.
And
at least there's some writers in Japan that are like, well, if it ain't broke.
Yeah, and that's always weird and gross. But until we
in
get
all
there.
seriousness, though, like looking at Deaimon and looking at like the vibe of the show, like even not more. I mean, even less than oh man, are they gonna be fucking by the end of this or whatever? Like that part is an issue, but I'm not even concerned about that because like the thing I'm actually like concerned about looking at this is like, what does this one have going for it compared to the others, right?
Right.
You look at you look at Sweetness and Lightning, right? And like that kid is a fucking riot, like she,
Yeah.
I forget her name, but like, some really good faces, pretty likable, pretty believably acted, right? Like,
Yeah, they made her.
acts
They
like a
portrayed
child.
her as like a real child and not
Like,
an
not
anime
just
precocious.
not just like somebody who's like 20 but put into the body of an 8-year-old, which I feel like often happens in these anime.
Yeah, which fair or not, I feel like is maybe the vibe I'm getting off of this one, where she might be a little more precocious and acting like an adult.
Whereas, like, the thing that, like, again, it's like, not to harp, but it's just, I think what made Sweetness and Lightning works is, like, that was a fairly believable single-parent relationship.
She was an actual child, like...
An actual kid, and, like, a dad doing his best, and, like, it felt natural. And so, like, looking at Deaimon, it's like, I'm sure this is going to be perfectly pleasant. I'm sure it's going to be, like, fine. I guess for me, it's like, what is the angle on this one, right? Like it doesn't.
And
seem
Sweetness
like
and Lightning had like the whole cooking angle, and like there was like a hook to it. I don't know if this one has anything.
Then you look at some of the other single dad anime out there, like Hina Matsuri. Everybody is horrible, and that's another angle you can take.
Kakushi Goto, also very good.
Where that had an angle too, right? Like where the dad was fucking a neurotic crazy person.
And he was a pervy manga artist.
Like so for this, it's like, okay, the confections thing, sure, but whatever. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what is the real?
It might be like a nice show, but it might also then just be boring as whatever.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's worth checking out.
Oh,
though.
For sure. Yeah, it seems fine. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. All right.
There's a little bit of goofiness in this PV, like looking at it. It's like, all right, like he's wearing a dumb costume or something. Sure, okay.
Yeah, there's stuff to work with.
What about this next one, Jill? Is this another?
Yeah, let's talk about was it Love After World Domination?
After World Domination.
I might have spelled that wrong in the notes. Yes, so Love After World Domination, the next in line of the Let's Make Tokusatsu anime series. Like last season we had
I've heard
what was
of
the actual name of that show? Miss Kuroitsu from the Kuroitsu from the Monster Department or whatever. So this one, the premise is like, what if the Red Ranger fell in love with the main bad?
I think it's like one of the lieutenants of the villain.
Isn't that like the premise of like? Is that actually okay? This tells you like how fucking internet brain poisoned I am. Is the Red Ranger having a star-crossed, or is any member of a Sentai team having a star-crossed relationship with a member of the evil team a somewhat common plot line?
I don't believe it has been in any time recently.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that is a plot line that is mostly just featured in Sentai-themed pornography.
That seems to be the case.
Okay, just double-checking.
So, in this situation, they're playing it more as a romantic comedy type of thing.
Right.
Then,
how are we going to date when we have to fight every week? Every week, Sunday morning.
Yeah, and, that does give you some interesting material to work with, I think.
Sure.
Whether or not, again, any of these things are going to be funny or not is based on on the rating and everything, which we're not going to know until we see it.
Right.
But
I think I read a couple chapters of the manga a while ago.
Okay.
But I don't remember anything particularly notable.
That's not necessarily a great sign, but
that's not necessarily a bad sign either.
At least you didn't hate it, right?
I'm like watching this right now, and like the thing that mainly annoys me about this is like she doesn't like really look that evil. I feel like the appeal.
You want some Rita Repulsa shit,
right? Because I feel the appeal of this premise is that you want to fuck Rita Repulsa, right? Like that's the reason why you make a premise like that, right? Is because you want to raw dog the witch who's been sealed for 10,000
She's closer. Whereas here she's closer to a Doronjo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's like I thought, like if she looked more like a gothy mommy or something, like that makes
would be
sense. But this is just
a lot more appealing to
UG. Look, I'm just pointing out for people who are maybe invested in this like sort of premise, like,
right?
Come on, you gotta lean into it.
She doesn't look like anything I've ever seen in any tokusatsu villain cast.
So I do recall one joke from the manga, which is like, because you see there's some other villains here in this trailer who are just like bears or something.
Yeah, a bear,
And so there I believe there is a chapter or something where she's like, oh no, my boss wants me to go undergo the like monsterification process so we can fight better against the Sentai team. But then, how could we date? Or something like that.
Oh, so she's not fully monsterized yet. That's
something like that.
Oh no, she'll become a super hot monster girl. Whatever will I do? Oh no.
Yeah, people hate that, right?
I hate it. Oh, I hate those wings and claws she has now.
I feel like we need to move away from this topic quickly here. But yeah, another one. Who knows? We'll check it out. And I get the impression it'll probably be fine, but
sure.
Will it be enough to keep us hooked? We'll see.
I mean, that other Sentai one wasn't that good, right? Like, you guys fell off that.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I didn't
basically
even
like.
watch it, so.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one that watched it, and it was fine, but it was like not like good enough,
right,
to make me like really want to keep watching it. It's just like the jokes were pretty boring and straightforward, and it was just like,
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right, let's talk about Summertime Render, or I've seen it Summertime Rendering. I don't know what they're going to go with for the final title there, but this is kind of interesting because it appears to be some kind of supernatural thriller mystery thing, and
okay, sure.
I think they're very intentionally not telling you anything about it.
Sure.
Right.
So that there's probably going to be some kind of twist to it or something, which doesn't necessarily make it good or bad, but it's interesting because could be something going on here.
This is definitely one of those ones that when I see it and I hear the premise and I see like even just the way the characters are drawn, I'm like, oh, this is one of those like unknown quantities that could
be really good.
Be
yeah,
something really interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, like the only thing they mention is like this guy gets called back home because his childhood friend died, and as he goes to goes to her funeral or whatever, some weird stuff starts happening.
Okay,
I think at some point she like sees a vision of him or her trying to save my sister who is still alive, and there's some weird supernatural things happening, and there's some kind of secret on the island type of deal.
Yeah, sure. Small town with a dark secret.
Yep.
Yeah.
As you do.
Like,
and that could either be good or it could be a horrible train wreck. If you watch the trailer, it is like deadly serious. Like this is not a like fun show. This is like real serious thriller type of mood they're going for.
I mean, that could be fun. I mean, that could be really interesting and really cool if done well, right?
Like, and it's the kind of thing that I think is a little more rare than usual.
We do have one,
particularly in this season.
Okabe on music here.
What was that?
We do have one Keiichi Okabe on music.
Oh yes, I think I remember hearing about that.
Oh, okay.
That is one thing that kind of perked my interest, But also got to remember, Keiichi Okabe works on a lot of stuff.
That's true,
like, Look, on one hand, he did the soundtrack for Nier. On the other hand, he did the soundtrack for Tekken 7.
Right.
So,
GLORIO the animation. Well, that was like a couple tracks, I think. But,
yeah. So, it's a bit of a wild card. Oh, and it is also based on a manga that is finished.
Okay. Always a good sign.
So, that's always a good sign because that means there is an actual end to the story. And they're not going to have to, theoretically not have to backpedal or come up with an anime original ending or something. So I mean, I just think it's something to keep an eye on, but these things can also be total train wrecks just as easily as
look the way it's always gone at GLORIO is that we put together a list of shows that we think are either interesting or worth talking about, or things that we're likely to at least like watch a few episodes of.
Right.
And as always, we can try to predict which one of these shows will be our breakout hit. We're usually wrong. There's going to be something on this list that there's going to be something on this there's going to be something that airs next season that we will not talk about on this podcast. that we will all be talking about by the first
Yes.
first looks, first impressions podcast.
That's
it
very-
always happens.
That's
There's always
very
something.
There's always
yeah,
something.
very likely. I think we've been doing this long enough that we've very rarely go into a new show and say this is going to be good.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
been a while. It's been a long
I
time.
think we hedge our bets on pretty much every new show.
I've
We've
this
been
point.
burned so many times.
I legitimately, like, I'm not even joking. I think the reason why it still holds such a place in my heart is because the last show that I was excited for and said was going to be good that actually ended up being as good as I hoped was Kill the Kill back in 2013.
Yes.
So,
Almost.
I guess if we don't count like sequels.
sure, yes.
Right, yeah, because those have
Just
some
like, I
known
don't know,
quality,
like
but shows that are
Dino
like
Xenon or
brand new,
something, I feel
right? Shows that are brand new, we very rarely at this point are gonna say this is definitely gonna be good. Like I feel like 5 years ago, I'd look at something like your Boy Kongming and say this is gonna be great, and then like go to watch it and be horribly disappointed. I'm like, no,
We have just seen how quickly an anime can fall apart, no matter how good its premise is.
It's true.
we are grizzled veterans at this point. We know better. So
What about this next one on the list? Is this one gonna be one of those?
okay, so Couple of Cuckoos. The only reason
Mm-hmm.
I am talking about this because the premise is awful.
Oh dear.
Oh man.
What's the premise?
The only reason I am talking about this is by the author of Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh.
A gel favorite.
she also took a absolutely terrible premise with that and made it pretty good.
Okay.
That's one of those like Gel's cult favorite shows. And this, when I say this premise is awful, it's like, it's really bad. So like, I'm gonna try to get this straight. There's this boy and girl who got swapped at birth by accident and were raised by each other's families or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And then
It happened. Yeah.
by pure coincidence, they meet in school later, and they're like betrothed to each other, but they didn't realize that they were also swapped at birth or something. And I guess hilarity ensues when they have to live together. And
I see.
yeah, like all of that's just like awful. And
Sounds like a mid-aughts romance show or something.
I know, right?
yeah, so I will say that if I'm using her previous work, the author's previous work, as reference here with Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches, that show started with when this guy kisses a girl and they swap bodies.
Right.
That was the starting premise. And then later on, there were other powers that were involved when he kisses these girls. I think, Ira, what you just said is like, that is a very mid-aughts like harem comedy premise.
This is like some fucking, like, I feel like I'm hearing this premise and like I'm on a fucking message board in 2004 and being like, you're lying. Like, this isn't real. Like,
I'm arguing over which one of the...
It's like a parody premise of a romance, right?
Yeah.
This is
right.
like the manga in Nozaki, right?
Yeah.
Yes, right. The manga, the 6 out of 10
unrequited
manga
love or love touch or I don't know,
right,
whatever it's called in Nozaki.
Yeah, but so the reason why I liked Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches was because she actually wrote very good characters for that series, and the main guy and girl, the main couple, had like really good actual like chemistry, and they felt like they had like a real relationship, and the relationship made progress over time. Like there were things that happened. And you know, even though he ended up having to kiss other girls or whatever, you know, it was not like it wasn't really like a harem thing. It kind of was, but you know, you knew where home was on that one. So like the you know, good writing can bail you out of a lot of things, even from like a terrible contrived premise like this. So it's enough to make me want to check it out. But again, does not mean appearing on this list is not an endorsement from the GLORIO blog. We'll have to see if they can actually pull it off.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, I think we're kind of made it to the end of the list already, huh?
Yeah, here we are. It's time to talk about maybe the one.
Sure.
Hotly anticipated,
very
surefire
highly
thing
anticipated
on this list.
So I never know how to pronounce the X in names with X's here. So is this just Spy Family?
Right.
Okay.
In the way that it is Hunter Hunter
and Gun Sword.
Gun Sword.
Spy Family.
Okay, so Spy Family.
So this is your this is your obligatory, hotly anticipated weekly Shonen Jump anime adaptation.
Yep. Semi-weekly.
The thing that makes Spy Family somewhat notable is, it was, first of all, it is published bi-weekly in Jump Plus, so that is Weekly Shonen Jump's online publication. It is not in the the big book, so to speak.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's very good, and in a lot of ways, it's not very different from what you expect of Weekly Shonen Jump, because Weekly Shonen Jump does publish gag comedies.
Yes.
But Spy Family is the rare, universally appreciated type of its genre.
Mm-hmm.
The basic premise is that Spy Family takes place in sort of a fictional Cold War era Europe. You kind of have your stand-in for what are implied to be, your fictional stand-ins for Western and Eastern Germany.
Yes.
Right. The iron curtain is up the wall, and it focuses on a spy known as Agent Twilight, who is kind of known as the Western nation's foremost, secret super spy 007.
Top of the top.
Top of the top, best of the best. No job is is out of his reach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he is assigned to the Eastern, the Soviet-coded nation, to infiltrate it and find out information on a specific political figure there. But to do so, he needs to get in close with that figure. But the problem is that figure is famously reclusive. In fact, his only public appearances are to attend events at the school his children attend. And thus, Agent Twilight realizes that he must infiltrate this school somehow. But being an adult man, there are limits to his disguise abilities. Despite his best abilities, he cannot in fact disguise himself as an 8-year-old child. So, as part of his cover, he needs to form a fake nuclear family. The perfect family, the perfect ideal family, attending the perfect ideal academy for perfect ideal children.
Yep.
And so to do that, our super spy agent adopts a young girl named Anya, from an orphanage, because he needs a girl who fits the right age bracket.
Yes.
As the figure's young son. The thing about Anya is that she is a telepath. She can read people's minds. It is implied that she was part of some, Cold War black bag,
right.
MK Ultra, fucking shit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So she can read minds, and thus she immediately reads Agent Twilight's mind and finds out what his goals are and what he's trying to do. This even extends to their first meeting, where Agent Twilight needs to recruit a 6-year-old child. Anya is 4. But she mind reads the agent's mind, and he's like, well, this girl is almost the right fit, but is she the right age? And she's just immediately just blurts out, I'm 6! Definitely 6! And it kind of, and in addition to that family, well, a single father would be too suspicious.
Indeed.
In, this country with its traditional family values. Certainly would not be able to get into the good graces of one of the most high-ranked politicians. So I must perfect my nuclear family. And who better than this attractive, young, salary woman, named Yor. She's just a regular girl. She's single. She's in her mid-20s. She's got a younger brother. But is trying to take care of him and otherwise just trying to make her way in the world. By day. By night, she is one of the Eastern nation's most deadly assassins.
There it is.
Known as Yor the Briar, who kills people with fucking needles, straight up, just fucking weaponized like knitting needles or some shit, you know? Imbued with supernatural physical ability. This woman can kick cars in half.
She rolls.
And so the three become the Forger
the spy
family. Yes,
so,
the titular spy family.
So they don't? So the adults don't know about each other, but the kid does,
thing.
right? That's the dynamic.
Nobody knows that the other is someone
except for the daughter, because she can read minds.
Anya, the daughter,
and she's like, "Wow, this is great."
Right. And so, yes, of course, for her, she's like, wow, this is an adventure. My mommy's a hired killer. My daddy's a spy.
Just like James Bond on television.
Exactly.
And so the actual mood is very, like, comedic, right? Like,
yes. A lot of the antics are just revolving around the increasingly fruitless attempts of all three to maintain the
facade,
the masquerade. Yeah. Yes, the facade, right? The Agent Twilight who becomes Lloyd, his name is Lloyd Forger, he's just a doctor at the hospital, and his knowledge of weapons and poisons and toxins, well, he's just a doctor. He's done a lot of crazy surgeries, Yor kicks a car in half. Well, she did a lot of yoga when she was young.
Right. That's how yoga works.
She's very good at staying in shape.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. Like
it's great.
It's really well done. We were mainly speaking to the manga here.
Yes.
So again, that is always this the golden Kamui precedent comes up. We are speaking about the merits of the source material. The art's really good. It's very personable. All the characters have great faces, great expressions. They're all very likable. A wide cast of interesting kooky characters that all kind of bring their own thing to the dynamic. It does a pretty good job of jumping from character to character, because sometimes you'll get these Anya-focused chapters, other times it'll be more about Lloyd. We finally started getting some Yor-focused chapters recently.
It's been a while.
They've done a really good job of balancing this cast and making them all interesting and likable and compelling in their own ways. And it is without a doubt like one of the best things currently being published by Weekly Shonen Jump.
So, in terms of whether the anime will be good, it is being done by
Wit Studio and Cloverworks.
Wit Studio and Cloverworks, both who are very capable of making things look nice.
Yes.
When they are at their best. I think we were just talking about is Wit on their redemption tour.
So I'll probably say this for when we're doing our wrap up podcast and we're talking about Ranking of Kings, but
their recent
work, Wit is in a really interesting place lately, because I feel like ever since they fucking dropped they dropped Attack on Titan like a bad X. I feel like Studio Wit has been in a better place than they've ever been in that studio's history. In terms of not only just the quality of the work they're doing, but their ability to
deliver
on it on a technical level without too many of the issues that often plagued older Studio Wit productions.
Right. Yes. Like historically, we would see them come out
swinging,
gorgeous first 3 episodes or something, and then just fall off hard.
I mean, even Attack on Titan fell into the same trap. Even the thing that was supposed to be their claim to fame struggled heavily on a technical level towards the end. And so them working on Spy Family is really exciting. I will say, funnily enough, or ironically enough maybe, this being a collaboration between 2 studios, I will admit, does have me a little bit more worried than it would otherwise. Because Studio Wit and Cloverworks have both done pretty good work on their own.
Yeah.
I feel like when you have 2 studios working together, you always run into that possible issue of oh, well, this episode feels like a Studio Wit episode. Oh, that one.
Funnily enough, I feel like Cloverworks is now gaining the reputation of having their productions fall apart. So
that too, right? Is that Cloverworks has not had a lot of good.
Did they do
Wonder Egg Priority and Promise Neverland?
Did they do Promise Neverland? Yeah.
Yeah. So like.
Well, yeah, Wonder Egg Priority is like a great example of like that show looks amazing when it looks amazing, and then it just fell apart.
I am not out here going to imply that, oh man, Cloverworks better not weigh down Studio Wit, but also like, both of these studios, whether recent or not, have had history of technical issues plaguing their productions.
Yeah.
And while Spy Family is not exactly like, look, this is not a Chainsaw Man situation. I'm not going to get into it too much, but people are beginning to get a little bit worried about the Chainsaw Man anime because they have been deadly silent for like over a year at this point.
Right.
And the thing that people suspect is, that is a production that is so demanding that,
right.
like,
it might not be going well.
That thing might be coming in flaming hot because like the amount of things that they're going to have to animate is like there are scenes and there are going to be things that are shown in that anime that are going to require gargantuan levels of effort. And thankfully, Spy Family is not quite as demanding, but it is a show that is like does need like good character animation work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anya is maybe the most likable like little girl since Asurpa from Golden Kamuy.
Yeah.
Like, she's very personable, very funny, makes some great faces.
Yeah, I've seen the faces. Yeah,
and so
I love me some good silly anime faces.
And so if she's going to be animated, I mean, she's going to need she's going to need
you got that squash and stretch.
Exactly, right? Like
we do have a little bit of footage in the trailer, which looks good. I mean, it's not blowing me away, but
it's solid for what it is.
It looks like it's getting the job done.
But yes, I think that in this case, I think Spy Family is probably going to be one of those anime that mostly trades just on how solid the source material is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to that, having not read the manga.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
you all keep telling me this sounds like my kind of show.
Yeah.
And it does
Jill,
indeed.
I'll say this, right? Like, I know you don't do much in the shonen circuit, but I think this is the one like thing that Weekly Shonen Jump is currently doing that I think you would really enjoy.
Yeah.
So.
It sounds very much in my wheelhouse here. So, again, I might have a good season. I don't know about I don't know about everybody else, but I might have a good season.
Check in about 2 months. But
I do think, I mean, from what we have said so far, like of the new shows, this seems like the most likely to succeed, right? And and we will have Kaguya-sama coming back, which I think is also I find I would be shocked if that drops off significantly or anything. Right. So those are probably our safest bets going into next season.
I would say so.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well,
that's pretty much it on our list. Obviously, there are a lot of other shows we did not talk about. But
I will say, coinciding, the newest Super Sentai has also started up as of last week.
Oh, is that the one Zig just wrote about?
Yes, Avataro Sentai Donbrothers, which you should read his post about it. But it bodes sort of ill for the franchise going forward, let's say, for a number of reasons.
What is the what's the hook on this one? Do they have cars or dinosaurs?
It's Momotaro themed, so everyone is themed after a character from Momotaro. And to save money, 2 of the Rangers are all CG.
Wow, that is not a good sign.
It's really not.
Wow. Yeah. Couldn't get the old couldn't get the dog suit. Couldn't get that out of the closet or whatever.
The little Sonic the Hedgehog dude.
Yeah.
It also appears to be a direct sequel to the previous Sentai show, which also does not bode well, if you ask me.
Does that happen sometimes?
No.
Oh wow! You mean in the entire history of the long history of Sentai, that has not happened before?
At best, you get the crossovers every time, right? Like,
oh god, I'm looking at the screenshots here in Zig's post. That is, That's bad.
Oh, yeah.
That's very bad.
And like, there were a few things I think in the first episode that were not terrible, but everything else was terrible. So,
oh my god! How did somebody think that was okay to put on television?
What are those? Is that a pair of sunglasses?
Yeah,
that's what's going
it's a
on.
pair of sunglasses. Yeah.
Oh man, this. Oh man. You know, I make fun of CG and anime a lot. You know, but
it's really
this
rough.
This is another level here. All right, well.
But I mean, I'm committed to watching a few episodes just to
you guys usually give it a little time, right? Yeah.
Notably, it's being written by Toshiki Inoue, a noted tokusatsu writer, a perhaps maligned tokusatsu writer.
Oh yeah.
He is known for Jetman, which was the like sky themed Sentai that was immediately before Ranger, aka Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh, okay. We're going back then.
Yeah, and also for stuff like Shogeki Go Raigan and some of the older Heisei Kamen Riders. The way Nziga Anaku's put it to me was the only thing worse than Toshiki Inoue writing drama is Toshiki Inoue trying to write comedy. So
that's fucking brutal.
That's rough.
Oh man, that's funny as hell.
So, oh god, this guy. So the Red Ranger literally has a peach on his forehead, huh?
It's Momotaro.
That makes sense. That checks out.
Yep.
All right. Well, sorry to hear about that. Then I guess.
Yeah. It's been a
trend.
Like I'm sorry. It's just like, okay. So look, I know Sentai is a very specific flavor of thing.
Yes.
Right? And I know that there are very specific, unique elements to its aesthetic and style of presentation that make it sort of stand out as the unique medium it is.
Yes.
This looks unbelievably cheap, even by
yeah.
standards. Like,
toy sales
God.
for Sentai have been steadily dwindling, and so its budgets have been getting slashed.
This is like so like
yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, look,
we're creeping into like YouTube fan video.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm looking at some of this stuff, and I'm like, are you sure this isn't just like a fucking like fake mock-up made by a fan?
I know.
Like about their OC Sentai series, because like.
Yeah,
I don't know,
it's
man.
rough.
I've seen a couple of clips and screenshots of like Kamen Rider Gaim, and like you know,
from the camera looks better
you
than
know,
this.
like those suits looked well made.
Yeah,
you know, even if they were themed after an orange, it was a cool looking
orange
samurai suit. You know, this is just like. Yeah, just straight up like, oh man, this looks cheap in such a like, not even cheap in a good way. Because here's the thing, let me be clear. I can appreciate amateur media. I can appreciate media that is being made on a budget. You know, is being made with less than all the resources in the world.
Yeah,
right.
But sometimes a thing just looks so cheap, like.
It is an actual detriment.
And
to
it's
the,
like Zen Kaiger, which was the previous Sentai, obviously had a slashed budget, but also I would say had the joke writing to sort of make up for it, and knew how to like kind of lean into it, of like, we're blatantly gonna reuse this suit, you know, and do another episode with basically the same suit, but we'll throw a little twisted here to make it a joke. It's like, I think they fought like Persimmon World or something early on, and then later on they're like, Persimmon World's back, and then he just pulls 2 panels off his head. He's like, actually, I'm dried Persimmon World. My power is to dry you out. They're like, ah, shit. We weren't ready for this.
I mean,
well,
and
best of luck watching this.
Right,
one,
yep.
Look, they're doing what they got to do, I guess.
You know, we've always said that Sentai and Kamen Rider cannot be good at the same time.
Is Kamen Rider good right now?
No, that's the problem. That's the problem.
The rules.
I know. Yeah.
So the rule. So no, wait.
Has been destroyed.
So the rule is that they can't be good at the same time, but there's no rule against them being bad at the same time. Right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
fine. I thought it was like an equivalent exchange.
I should
thing,
hope so.
like-
Look, I mean, maybe the Kamen Rider after Revice will be good, and then balance will be restored. But
Of course.
who knows, man?
Yeah, just instead of a scale, like just both the ends of the scale have fallen off the.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, basically.
All right.
Me. Yeah.
Well, that's gonna do it for our list then. Like I said, obviously there are many other shows we didn't talk about because we don't have time to talk about every single one, but I'm sure we'll cover a lot more when we actually do our written first looks, which will be here before we know it. But next episode we'll get around to wrapping things up, and we can rave about Ranking of Kings blowing their animation budget on episode whatever the last episode was. And I wish we could talk about that this week.
That's what I actually wanted to talk about here, and it's killing me that I can't.
Yeah, we'll get to that next time as we wrap things up. So, all right, let's do it in our housekeeping. You can check us out at theglorioblog.com. You can follow us on Twitter at theglorioblog. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon, Podbean, Stitcher, and of course you can check us out on YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, all that good stuff. You can tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch everybody next time.